All right, so here we go again with another protein myth that's getting rattled in the research. Is it really protein that is leading to a higher level of satiation in terms of what we call postprandial meal after eating a meal? Is it really protein that keeps you fuller longer and tells you that you've had enough, or is it something else going on? For a long time, protein lovers have been laying claim to the satiating effects of protein, but what does the research say? And there's a new line of research that I think is going to be occupying main levels of research in terms of weight control over the next few years. So let's get into it. What we're talking about here are the short chain fatty acids produced by the friendly bacteria in your gut. In fact, these are the main sources of nutrition for the cells in your colon. Short-chain fatty acids can also play an important role in health and disease, and they may reduce the risk of inflammatory diseases, type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and other conditions. And it's the elements that affect obesity here and how and why they can reduce the risk of obesity that we're going to look at here in terms of effects on hunger and appetite and cravings and satiation, etc. So the main short chain fatty acids produced in the colon are acetate, propionate, and butyrate. Now, what are the sources of food that induce this colonic response? Well, eating a lot of high fiber foods, fruits, veggies, legumes, and whole grains are linked to an increase in short-chain fatty acids. In other words, short-chain fatty acids are a byproduct of fiber digestion. And what foods are a source of fiber? Not protein. So let me say that again. In other words, short-chain fatty acids are a byproduct of fiber digestion, and fiber comes from the foods I just listed: fruits, veggies, legumes, whole grains, etc. So in the next few years, the research for weight control is going to have a lot to do with these gut short-chain fatty acids, including their pronounced influences on satiation. Now, to be fair, current studies are mostly limited to animals, mice, etc. Plus, unfortunately, it's easy to get bogged down in a lot of very scientific jargon and academic speak when addressing colonic short-chain fatty acids. I'm going to try to translate all this to you in layman terms because it's really cool stuff and it's really important stuff. So, but the fact that it is a lot of biochemical jargon can make it harder for the layman to understand moving forward. But here is some really, really cool and important research and conclusions about short-chain fatty acids produced in the colon and how they affect appetite, cravings, hunger, satiety, weight control, etc. So I will post the links, and you can find them yourself, and then you can link to the whole article if you want. The first one I'm going to talk about is from the International Journal of Obesity. We'll put this up here from 2015, and the title, I'm just going to put the abstract up. The title is The Role of Short-Chain Fatty Acids in Appetite Regulation and Energy Homeostasis. So again, as we see here, the role that these colonic short-chain fatty acids play in regulating appetite and energy homeostasis, so keeping an even keel of energy balance. So that's very, very important. Now, quote, and we're going to put this up here for you to read and follow along from this research. Evidence suggests that for most of human history, the human lineage consumed more indigestible plant materials such as grasses, sedges, and tubers than is present in a typical Western diet, as in 100 grams per day dietary fiber back then, compared with less than 15 grams dietary fiber per day in the average modern day diet. So that's a direct quote. Why is this important? Because when omnivores try to make the argument that our ancestors were leaner because they ate a lot of animal flesh, they are in fact misguided, as you can see from this quote. Our ancestors were a lot leaner because they ate a hell of a lot more fiber, and two, they used a lot more energy in the pursuit and consumption of food than we need to do now because of modern convenience. So things like hunting, gathering, etc., staying warm. I talked about all these things discussed in some of my books like Beyond Metabolism and Understanding Metabolism and things like that. Furthermore, from this same research, and I quote, and we'll put this up for you to follow along. When administered acutely, we found that inulin propionate ester significantly increased postprandial PYY and GLP-1 and reduced energy intake by 14% at a buffet meal. Really, really important stuff, and I'll translate the academic speak for you. But here's the question, class. At what stimulates gut action and production of the short-chain fatty acid propionate? Again, fiber intake. What foods contain fiber? Not protein. So this is how and why vegans are much, much leaner than meat eaters and even leaner than mere vegetarians. And this is why I say my 6-day vegan diet leads to the title of the book, Lean Without Trying, and boom. So what you see here is that they found that just by administering propionate in the gut, it reduced intake at a buffet meal by a whopping 14%. So you're going to eat less the more fiber you eat. So think about this as well. The more fiber you eat in a given 24-hour period, the less likely you are to overindulge in hyperpalatable foods the next day. And this is why so many of my clients who break vegan over time report eating much less junk food on a refeed day because they just don't crave it anymore, let alone desire to stuff themselves full of it. So this is really, really important stuff that the research is starting to get into and starting to understand. And to my mind, the gut effects of propionate and butyrate and the effects on appetite and the reward centers that come from eating so much fiber, this is all part of the metabolic reset that so many people are looking for, people who no longer know when they are hungry or when they are full because of past dieting mistakes. And usually, what is the main component of past dieting? Protein. So we're starting to see a trend here, again, rattling some of the protein myths that still exist on gym floors everywhere. And to this end, about the metabolic reset and not eating as much the next day and the effects on reward centers of the brain, let's look at this study from the American Journal of Nutrition in 2016, and we'll put the abstract up here for you and the name of the study. Increased colonic propionate reduces anticipatory reward responses in the human striatum to high energy foods. So really, really important stuff. So, quote, in humans, increased colonic production of short-chain fatty acid propionate acutely reduces energy intake. Boom. So the more you can get colonic production of short-chain fatty acids, in this case propionate, it acutely reduces how much food you're going to take in and want to take in. So this is really, really important stuff. So translating from the academic speak, what this means is you'll likely eat less without trying to eat less. No intermittent fasting, no outside-in number crunching and all the rest. Just a naturally induced, reduced intake of calories. And I have to say again, and boom. So this is really, really important stuff talking about the colonic production of short-chain fatty acids induced by high fiber intake of whole foods. And a quote further from this research, our results suggest that colonic propionate production may play an important role in attenuating reward-based eating behaviors via striatal pathways. Okay, that sounds like a lot of academic and biochemical jargon. Let me translate for you because this is really important stuff. Plays an important role in attenuating reward-based eating behavior via striatal pathways, meaning a person's reward centers reacted less dramatically to high-energy food stimulus, pictures of cake or pictures of burgers and fries, hyperpalatable foods, we could say. In essence, this could be why so many people report losing their cravings for absolute junk food once they stay vegan for a while, and why they may end up eating less of that junk food when they do indulge. So again, really, really important stuff. affecting appetite, cravings, hunger, satiety, and even sensations of the reward centers of the brain and how much you even want to eat those foods. And I see this all the time. So let's move to another piece of research. This one from the journal Gut 2015, and we'll put the abstract up here for you. And the name of the article, Effects of Targeted Delivery of Propionate to the Human Colon on Appetite Regulation, Body Weight Maintenance, and Adiposity in Overweight Adults. Sounds important, doesn't it? Because it addresses appetite regulation, things that people are concerned about, especially previous dieters. Body weight maintenance, so that your weight isn't going all over the place, up and down, and of course controlling overweightness in overweight adults. So this study in particular made this particular hypothesis. Recent evidence suggests that the short-chain fatty acid propionate may play an important role in appetite regulation. We hypothesized that colonic delivery of propionate would increase peptide YY and glucagon-like peptide secretion in humans and reduce energy intake and weight gain in overweight adults. So their conclusion was this, and I'll put this in quotes and put it up here for you to see. These data demonstrate for the first time that increasing colonic propionate prevents weight gain in overweight adult humans. Prevents weight gain in overweight adult humans. Sounds pretty important, doesn't it? That's because it is. And then this study, even though it's with mice, is really, really important as well because it's all relative. Again, there's no smoking guns in this kind of research, folks, because you can't really do this kind of research in human trials. But what we see here is when you put together all the pieces of the puzzle of the research, a certain picture emerges. So this study with mice from the Public Library of Science, April 2012, and we'll put that link up for you. Butyrate and propionate protect against diet-induced obesity and regulate gut hormones via free fatty acid receptor 3 independent mechanisms. So again, a lot of academic speak. Don't get lost in that because the findings are really, really cool and they're really, really important. So again, look at the title, in the title, protect against diet-induced obesity. Sounds pretty important. Diet-induced weight gain. Well, the more butyrate and propionate you can produce from the colon by eating fermenting fiber foods, then the more protection you have against diet-induced overweightness. And then you get to regulate your gut hormones, appetite center, reward center, hunger, satiety, etc. Really, really important stuff. And quote from this research, we found that all three short-chain fatty acids protected against diet-induced obesity, with butyrate and propionate being more effective than acetate. Butyrate and propionate regulate body weight at least partially by, listen to this, regulate body weight at least partially by inhibiting food intake consistent with their stimulatory effects on anorexigenic gut hormones. In contrast, acetate further inhibited weight gain independent of food intake suppression. So what all that means, and I'll give you time to absorb that quote, we put it up there, but it sure is important because you have regulation of body weight, which is really, really important, not just losing weight, but regulating body weight by inhibiting food intake without trying. So you're not crunching numbers from a Fitbit or outside-in nonsense, okay? Your body is producing hormones in a certain way that inhibit you from eating too much, and that's because of the stimulatory effects of the short-chain fatty acids on anorexigenic gut hormones, and acetate adds to that by inhibiting weight gain independent of food intake suppression. So what you have here is a 1, 2, 3 punch of gut short-chain fatty acids protecting against weight gain and regulating body weight. Doesn't that sound important? Of course it does. So here's a quote from this piece of research, which, by the way, has over 30 peer-reviewed references. So in summary, the present findings demonstrate butyrate and propionate regulate gut hormone release, suppress food intake, and protect against diet-induced obesity. So really, really important. So here's an overall hint so far. Make your daily meal plan high in non-processed whole food fibers, but especially before a social event where you're afraid of eating too much, because you'll be less likely to eat crap food anyway, and if you do, you'll eat a lot less of it. This burgeoning area of research will be key to understanding weight control in ways we didn't before, and it explains why fiber intake of natural unprocessed sources is so very, very important. This latter part is important because this doesn't mean overdosing on Metamucil and chewable fiber supplements and all the rest of the nonsense out there that passes for taking care of your health. If we follow the logic here, animal studies or not, contrary to popular nutritional dogma and gym floor folklore, it's not protein that is the most satiating macronutrient that leads to weight control, nor its component amino acids. What we see here, in fact, is the short-chain fatty acids and their importance in all these things of regulating hunger, appetite, cravings, weight control, not eating too much, etc. But in fact, in terms of protein and satiation, what's ironic here is that 10 of the top 15 satiating foods listed by Healthline are plant-based foods and not animal sources at all, even though what continues to pass for knowledge on the gym floor is that it's protein that is on the top satiating foods, which is just not true. I discussed that in my book, Understanding Metabolism, where I show how the potato is far and away the most satiating food out there. And this satiety index is way back in the 90s, so this emerging kind of research on colonic short-chain fatty acids, I think, is going to change that profile substantially as we go along. So keep in mind, it's not protein. It is, in fact, fiber-containing foods that are the most satiating by far and that play essential roles in long-term weight control via appetite and hunger and satiety regulation. So this is the important thing, folks. You don't want to lose sight of the word regulation. All of you have experienced that problem where you can lose the weight but you can't keep it off, or you lose the weight and your hunger spikes and goes way up, and yada yada yada, because you're not, by following outside in calorie constriction and the rest of it, you're not regulating these things over the course of the cumulative realm of time. So this is really, really important stuff, and that key word, regulating and protecting against diet-induced weight gain. Wow, big, big deal. As we continue to learn more about this topic of colonic production of short-chain fatty acids, I think it will likely deepen the support and arguments for a whole food, plant-based, even vegan diet. And I didn't have a lot of this research in my book, Lean Without Trying, but it sure does support my argument in my book, Lean Without Trying, and everything I say in there. By the way, my book, Lean Without Trying, which was #1 on Amazon for a short time. So I thank you all for that. But give it a read, and you will see how this emerging research, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of it in the next few years, about colonic production of short-chain fatty acids, how to do that naturally with fiber-containing fermenting foods, whole foods, unprocessed foods, the whole food plant-based diet. So in essence, this research rattles another protein myth that protein is the most satiating food, and by implication that somehow it is the most important thing in regulating body weight and leanness. And yet, any of you who had problems dieting in the past, 99% of you would have had protein as your main dietary macronutrient. So common sense dictates that there's something wrong with the protein satiation argument right from the get-go. But we'll look forward to more research. So I thought that was a really, really important, and for me as a research nerd, some pretty cool stuff too to look at. So that is rattling another protein myth. and the importance of short-chain fatty acids produced in the gut. So stay tuned. I will have more videos coming at you. By all means, leave your comments, what you think below. And of course, as long as they're intelligent comments and well-intentioned, I'll be more than happy to post them. So look forward to what you have to say, and I will see you all in the next video.